Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to revisit a brewery that you've seen me review a good few things from now. I think this is review number 3 or 4 from these guys. So for this one we are going to head to Tampa in Florida, and we're trying yet another beer from Cigar City Brewing. And I think it's fair to say that Cigar City Brewing were one of the ones who really kind of kicked it off in the state of Florida, although of course nowadays you've got people like J. Wakefield Brewing and a number of others who are brewing these Florida-style IPAs. But this particular beer is the Space Pope. It's an IPA coming in at 7.2% ABV, and to be honest with you, I picked this one because it's a brewery that I know do some good IPAs, and you know, I'm always impressed with the Hallertau Blanc hop as well, which is one of the ones that's in here. And I did like the name too. I thought the idea of a Pope in space was kind of funny, to be honest with you. So that was the main reason I picked up this beer. But this one was released on the 17th of August 2019 through the Små Partiers in Systembolaget here in Sweden, so hopefully it's a good beer. I've heard good things about this one, and I do hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Cigar City Brewing before. No doubt I will add some more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Cigar City Brewing then, on to my brewery notes quickly. So Cigar City Brewing, as I mentioned to you earlier, are based in Tampa in Florida, and they were founded back in 2007 by Joey Redner, who'd previously worked for Dunedin Brewing and as a beer writer for the Tampa Bay Times. So he hired Wayne Wambos as his brewmaster back in 2008, and the brewery produced their first beers in January of 2009. And of course this brewery are very well known for their limited edition Hanafu Imperial Stout, which is one that I would love to try, but they host a beer festival every March to celebrate its release. But as of March 2016, Cigar City are in a partnership with Oscar Blues Brewing from Longmont in Colorado, who incidentally are, you know, they're probably the best known Colorado brewery over in Europe these days, and they were the first ones to put their beers in cans, which started off that whole trend in that state, of course. Colorado, a very, very good beer state. But the reason for this partnership between Cigar City and Oscar Blues was that Joey wanted to expand the capacity of the brewery, but he didn't want to borrow the vast sums of money that you would need for all the tanks and equipment and things like that. So their own facility they have in Tampa has an output of around 60 BBLs, and for quite a long time they were contract brewing at a few other facilities such as Brew Hub. But this of course changed now due to the relationship that they have with Oscar Blues, and they've been gradually starting to produce more and more beer ever since. I think there's quite a bit of this beer is actually produced in Colorado and things now. Either that or Oscar Blues have invested in a facility in Florida as well. I can't actually remember which way around it is, and it was a bit difficult to find what the deal was there, because the history of the two breweries kind of gets mashed a little bit because of this partnership. But like I said at the start of the video, this is probably, if you go back about 5-6 years, something like that, or even back to just when I was finishing, when I was finishing university in 2014 rather. You know, this is the brewery that everyone knew in Europe from Florida, and you were able to get a couple of their beers over here if you're lucky. But I think these guys are, you know, the one who really kicked it off in the state over there. But nowadays you've got many, many different breweries brewing Florida IPAs, if you like, you know, those slightly sour ones with the more kind of bready malt bases and things. So, you know, there's a very good craft beer scene over there, so I do recommend you get out there and check it out if you get the chance. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery for the moment. Let's get on to actually tasting the beer itself. If you want to learn a little bit more about the brewery, of course, you can check out the brewery website, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that will keep you up to date with all of the latest goings on. So the import sticker that's on this one is actually blocking the little blurb that's on the back of the can, so I'll just read it off to you straight off the website. So it says, "Did you know, is the Space Pope reptilian? That question remains to be answered, but in the meantime we have his eponymous IPA to consider, brewed with an astronomical amount of mosaic, citra, Hallertau Blanc, and what else? Galaxy hops that lends notes of passion fruit, melon, and melon to the clean flavours of base malt and a touch of crystal malt for depth of character. When your ecclesial jurisdiction encompasses the entire universe, only Cigar City Brewing's Space Pope IPA will do. So yeah, like I said, it's Mosaic, which we know is kind of tangerine and orangey. Citra in this one, which is that kind of classic sort of mango, quite complex fruit hop. Hallertau Blanc, which is a beautiful hop from Germany that gives you these, you know, white, green, grapey sort of flavours that you might normally expect of Nelson Sauvin. And then, of course, you've got Galaxy, which seems to have taken over from Simcoe when it comes to actually putting passion fruity notes in your beer. So, yeah, let's get rid of the brewery notes then, and we'll have a taste of this beer and see what we got on. You know, crystal malt is always pretty damn good as well. So just let me have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open up. As you can see, a little bit different and more kind of jazzy, if you like, compared to some of the other Cigar City beers that you're going to see. But there, of course, is the Cigar City Brewing symbol, and you'll also see it kind of down like this, like it has on the import sticker as well, the CCB. You'll see it often kind of shown like that as well. But this one is a 355ml can. I want to say that's 12 fluid ounces in that strange American measurement system that they have. Does it say? But nah, I can't see it on the bits that aren't blocked out. But yeah, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. I'm very curious to see how this beer turns out actually. So let's get it out and into the glass. Straight away you can smell some of these lovely hoppy qualities coming out of this one. So we'll leave a little bit in the can for the moment so we can check out the aroma, and then we'll put it in before we drink it. So as you can see with this beer, in terms of IPAs, this one's definitely leaning towards the yellow end of the colour spectrum, to be honest with you. Definitely more of a yellow, a bright goldeny kind of yellow colour, this one, rather than you know, rather than beer more orangey. You know, it's got a little bit of haze to it, but I suspect that this one will be more of a kind of West Coast IPA, but we'll see how we'll see how that kind of turns out, if you like. But yeah, if I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see there's the level of haze to this one. By no means is it the haziest IPA that you're going to come across. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there, and you can see there's about 1/3 of a finger of a frothy white head, but that's fading away very quickly to just be a very thin kind of foamy layer. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we go on. And one thing I will say about these American beers, one of the problems we have with Systembolaget here in Sweden is that when they bring these beers in, they're not always completely fresh, and that's one of the things. They'll import them in like 2 or 3 months before they're due to go out, and then they go on to the shelves in Systembolaget and they're not at their prime. So unfortunately, when it comes to American beers in Sweden, you're not getting them as fresh as you are just across the water in Denmark. I'm in the south of Sweden, of course, and I can get some of these beers like in really top condition over there. But Systembolaget need to look at that, how to actually condition their beers and getting them, you know, putting them on the shelves a little bit quicker. I would say that, but then again, the importers maybe have to organise it a bit better as well. But anyway, in terms of the aroma of this beer then, on the malty side of things, you can definitely smell a nice little bit of that bready quality in there. To me, it has a little bit of that base that you would expect from a New England IPA, to be honest with you. You can definitely pick up a nice little bit of a kind of wheaty, bready sort of thing in there, a white bready wheat kind of quality. A little bit, I want to say there is a bit of that oaty smoothness in there too, definitely a little touch of an oaty quality. Yeah, definitely a little bit of an oaty quality to this one, which is nice. A little bit of caramelly malt in there, maybe a wee bit of a kind of biscuity quality also. Yeah, definitely a nice little bit of a biscuity sweetness to this one too. The more you smell of it, it does become a little bit more boozy, but you start to get more of the biscuit as well as your nose adjusts to it. In terms of the hoppy qualities that you're getting from this beer, for me, yeah, for me, this one is on the green side of things, I should say first. This one definitely leans towards the kind of floral aromatic end of the spectrum. And with the hops that are in this, you would kind of expect that. It is a little bit more kind of spicy and floral. There's a little bit of grassiness in there. You're also getting a little touch of earthiness too. Though the earthiness that comes out of this beer, I would suspect, is probably attributed to the Mosaic first of all, because that's probably got the strongest earthy element to it. But it's also got a little bit of that kind of slightly sweeter, noble earthiness, and that will be the Hallertau Blanc. I've always found that with German hops, regardless of what one it is, whether it's the, you know, the standard Hallertau and Tittnanger, or whether it's the the likes of the Pearl and the Hercules, the slightly higher ones, and then the Mandarin of Bavaria, and then the Hallertau Blanc. They always have the very kind of same distinct grassy, floral, earthy kind of patterns to them. They've always got the same background, if you like, but they're just a bit different in the way the fruity characters come out. So definitely has a little bit of a noble earthiness to it in my mind. And then you've got the slightly stronger earthiness from the Mosaic too. On the fruity side of things, for me, there's definitely the kind of stronger tropical fruity note out of the beer, and that will be the Citra, and the Galaxy in this one. So yeah, you've got a little bit of a mango-y and a kind of slightly darker passion fruity note in there. You can smell the more oily. Well, I should say, usually Mosaic gives you a more lighter, juicy tangerine note, but the orangey qualities coming out of this beer are definitely a bit more oily than you'd normally find. And of course, if you want oily orange, usually it's Amarillo that you would add, and of course you've got Azacca and of course Sabro and things like that now as well, and Pacifica, and from New Zealand, Mandarin of Bavaria from Germany. So yeah, nice oily orange to this one, and you can definitely pick out a little bit of that sort of green, white, grapey sort of thing that Hallertau Blanc is known for. That's a beautiful, beautiful hop, that one, incidentally, and if you haven't tried beers with Hallertau Blanc in it, I would recommend that you have a go at like a single hop IPA or something like that. There was one, if I remember rightly, it was called the Craniac, and it was from one of the breweries up around you know, in the Chicago area. I really forget what brewery that was now that was doing was it Hop Butcher? It might have been Hop Butcher actually that had that, and it had Hallertau Blanc in it. It was beautiful. But yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So this one is the Space Pulp, an IPA coming in at 7.2% from Cigar City Brewing in Tampa in Florida. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. That's pretty good actually, and I will say, in fairness to this one, I was complaining about the conditioning that some of these importers and Systembolaget, you know, because there is, both of them are responsible for that. This one is actually in better condition, and this one's been imported into Sweden by great brands, AB. I mean, there's quite a few different ones over here. There's like Wicked Wines and all of these kind of things. But this one is actually in fairly decent condition. So well done to the importer and Systembolaget for improving. I have noticed a gradual improvement in these things over the last little while. But yeah, that's nice. I mean, what I'll say is, you know, it's not doing anything surprising with this style, but it's just a nice, well-rounded, drinkable IPA. And to be honest, these days with the amount of IPAs that are actually on the market, you can't really ask for much more, to be honest with you. I mean, the trends now are the Kvike IPAs, Florida IPAs are gradually becoming a little bit more popular as well, but you know, this is nice actually. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, but it's not doing anything new that we've seen from that we haven't seen from this style before. So let's try and break the flavour of this down then. In the middle of your palate, straight away, you're going to get that nice smooth white bready wheaty quality. That just goes right across the middle of your tongue. When it sort of thickens up a little bit, and that's when you start to get the more oaty flavours out of the beer. In the very centre of your palate, you're getting a little bit of a sweet caramel in there, and as you move further out from that, you can feel a little bit of a kind of biscuity quality coming out of it as well. So, you know, that'll be the crystal malt. I always like the American crystal malts that you get actually. Although in fairness, with crystal malt, I'm sure that Weirmann and Bamberg actually do one as well. So I don't know whether it's American crystal malt or whether it's German crystal malt. But in fairness, with it being a big American company, I would expect that they'd probably use the American malts because they're good and it's probably cheaper than the German ones, for the American companies at least. But yeah, that is pretty damn solid in terms of its malt base, so I really like that. As I've always said on the channel, I love it when beers have a malt base that really suits the other part of the beer. A lot of breweries for a long time were just putting pale malt and then blasting the beers with hops. For me, it's all about getting the balance of the beer right. That's the kind of, you know, and that's the most difficult thing. But well done to Cigar City Brewing on the malt base of this one. It really does suit the hops that are involved here. So on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's definitely a little bit of that earthiness there. You can feel that slightly darker earthiness from the Mosaic, but then as the flavour evolves a little bit, you start to get more and more of the kind of noble quality that I was talking about, like the thing from the Hallertau Blanc. You really get a little bit of that lighter, almost slightly sweeter earthiness that you would expect of the you know, of that Hallertau Blanc hop. For this one, as you come further forward, you definitely get a nice little bit of that slightly more dark. It's almost just a little touch dank, this beer, but you get a little bit more of that quite dank floral aromaticity to this one. It becomes a little bit spicy on the front corners of the palate, but then round the very front curve of the tongue, the beer is really just a bit lighter and a bit more grassy. Then behind the front curve of the palate, you've got that little oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. And for me, that's where the fun really begins with this beer, so pay attention to that. So yeah, with this beer then, if you go to the back of that oily bubble, you get a little, if you go to the back of it, you start to get the galaxy notes out of this one. You get that darker passion fruity note, and as you come further forward from that, it starts to evolve more into the kind of citra qualities, the mango in there. You can perhaps feel a little bit of that kind of green, white, grapey flavour from the Hallertau Blanc interacting with the mango, but for me mainly, that comes out a little bit further forward on the palate. And I can see what they're saying. They were saying that in the sort of description that they had, that there is a bit of melon there. I can definitely see why they would say that, but for me it's a bit lighter and a bit grapey. But I've always found that white grapes, melons are just a little bit more kind of oily in their flavour, and slightly, they're almost a little touch limey, I've always found. If you think about the flavour of a lime, like for me a melon is a little bit of a cross between a lime and a white grape, if you like, in terms of its flavour. But you can pick that up there. The sort of melony qualities are mixing in with the mangoes a little bit for me. A bit further forward from that, not quite on the tip of the tongue though yet, that's where you'll get the sort of tangerine-y, orangey qualities from the Mosaic coming out. But yeah, that's nice how that goes together. That if you just move right, if you go to the very front edge of your tongue and just in a little bit, there's quite a lot of a fruity complexity in there, and it will be coming from a number of things. So kind of forming the base of that, you can feel that sort of white grapey quality, and that'll be the Hallertau Blanc that's coming out there. You also get the impression of there being a little bit of a gooseberry kind of lychee type thing, and that'll be the citra. And if you just go to the very centre of the front of your tongue and then in a little bit, you'll get a little slight touch of a kind of blueberry quality out of that as well. It's quite minimal that, but I've always found that that Mosaic just gives you this little touch of blueberry with that nice tangerine orange, and I really like how that goes together in this one. It's the fruity complexity of this beer is really quite nice actually. And the thing I'm noticing about this one as well is generally I'm finding that this beer feels just a little bit more boozy compared to the other ones, and I think the main reason for that is that I've noticed that the New England IPAs, you know, I think there has, in terms of what you would normally have as a standard drinking IPA, I mean, I remember when we first had Brewdog, the Brewdog Punk IPA, I'm sure that was like, at one point I think that was like that must have been about 6.5% or something like that, but then there was the Jackhammer that came out, the West Coast IPA that they had, and that was a 7.2%. You know, that was the standard. For me, 7.2% seemed to be a pretty standard measurement for IPAs, but I've noticed that usually the more sessionable IPAs are dropping back a little bit, so this one to me now at this point does feel a little bit more boozy than what I would normally drink from the likes of Brewski or Stigbergets and all these other Swedish breweries, and then Amar and things like Amar and Gamma and stuff like that over in over in Denmark and Copenhagen as well. So this beer to me, it does feel a little bit kind of boozier, but it's almost like a hybrid of a West Coast and a New England, this one. It has a little bit of both. So let's talk about the mouthfeel a little bit more actually with this one. So overall, I would say that this beer is quite mid-bodied. The carbonation is pretty smooth in this one. The mouthfeel overall is a little bit more oily, but it does have a little bit of a kind of underlying smoothness. If we're talking about IBUs in this beer, this one's got to be around like maybe about 50 IBUs, somewhere in that kind of region. it does have a little bit more of a bitter bite to it. And I have noticed that that the IBUs of these IPAs do seem to be creeping up again. For a long time they were being pushed down to about 30. You know, the standard Pilsner Urquell was always 30, but for a long time the IPAs were getting pushed down in their bitterness as the conversion almost from the switching focus from West Coast to New England, but it's gradually starting to creep back up again, and I do like that. So this beer does have a nice little bit of a bitter hoppiness to it if you've been missing your West Coast IPAs like I have. Malt base is quite smooth initially, but then it sweetens up a little bit the more you drink of the beer, and it's got some lovely juicy fruitiness overall to it as well. Like I say, it's got a little bit of a feel of a New England IPA, but the sweetness you get out of this one from the crystal malt is a little bit more akin to a West Coast IPA, and the bitterness is a bit higher than you'd normally associate with a New England as well. But I mean, overall, this is a really quite nice beer. You know, I've known that Cigar City produce some solid IPAs, so this one really isn't a surprise to me. It's a nice IPA. I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, but it's not doing anything particularly surprising with the style. You know, that's one of the things we just have to say. But the novelty of this beer, I guess, is the Hallertau Blanc, and I don't think that hop is used too widely over in America. So for American drinkers, I think that this is a bit of a novel one to try for that reason. But do let me know some other beers from the States that have Hallertau Blanc in it. It'd be cool to know those and see if I can try them. And likewise, even over here in Europe, you don't find it being used all that often. I mean, it's more the, you know, the Citra, the Galaxy, the Mosaics, the Equinox, Centennials, and all of these kind of things that breweries are using now, and you see the odd other ones creeping in. But yeah, a nice beer this one, so have a go at it for yourself, and it's cool to have something else from Cigar City through the small partiers here. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Cigar City Brewing as well, and I'm sure that I'll catch you guys soon with more reviews from these guys. Check out my social media, let me know your own thoughts on this, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Space Pope IPA at 7.2% from Cigar City Brewing in Tampa in Florida. Until the next time, stand you just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Stand you, skull, cheers.